Academic advising, as we know today, becomes more and more important on our campuses as we look at the whole issue of student success, student retention, student persistence to graduation. And administrators, whether you're an administrator of a faculty-only model, a shared model, or a very centralized professional advisor model, administrators play a key role. So we want to look at some of those issues today as we go through this. I think it's important to understand that each person here has something to bring to the table as we have these conversations. So let's get started with our first question. Our first question is, what do you see as the important skills that advising administrators need? Each of the participants have put together a list of ideas, but are going to just hit a couple or one possibly that they see as very important. So Bill, let's start with you.
Thank you, Charlie. I believe the most important skill on my list is that of building campus relations. As administrators, we are the face of advising for our units to our deans, student affairs departments, provosts, vice presidents, among others. Advocacy is best accomplished on a personal level. Campus stakeholders respond to our needs best through personal contact. In many ways, we are in sales, not in the make a sale at any cost way, but rather in terms of our belief in what we do having a positive impact. There will be no one else better able to sell our initiatives and programs, and therefore we need to be equipped to do so.
Bill, I think that's great. I really like the word advocates, because I think many times administrators think that it's mainly about supervision and management, and for academic advisors, so much of what we do on an advocacy role. So I like that use of that term there. Jennifer, what about you?
Are skills that advisors and faculty members and senior advisors and assistant directors can build over time. These are skill sets that can be nurtured. You can hire for them. You can be part of a personal development plan, and they can also, with good goals and outcomes, be measured and assessed over time. And I really want to give a shout out to NACADA's Associate Director Marcia Miller and UW-Madison Associate Director Becky Ryan, who, through their work through the Summer Institute, are really trying to stress this notion of a competency skill set that we can nurture.
Great, Jennifer. We missed a few seconds of your beginning there.
Oh, okay.
But I think what you really said is so important, and that is that these skills are not skills perhaps that we're born with. And many times we tend to think that people are just born to be innately administrators. I think, yes, there are some of those skills, but even more importantly, we've got to learn them. We've got to gain them. But I like your word nurturing, because if we don't nurture it within ourselves, we can't nurture it with other leaders for the future. So really good points.
Thanks,
Nancy,
Charlie.
Nancy, what about you?
Yes, I'd like to stress the importance of being flexible and willing to operate, and sometimes even having to make decisions with less than perfect information. We all operate in very complex environments that are constantly changing, and there are many times when we don't have all of the answers or all of the information that we might like when it comes to having to do what we're being asked to do. And so I think it's very, very important that you know where on your campus you can go for information, that you know what questions to ask, that you're able to assess a situation and determine who you need to talk to, where you can get the information you need. Very important skills to have. And emphasize that also sometimes you have to make your decision without having all of the information and take risks. And I think another very valuable skill is being able to identify opportunities that might exist on your campus or within your system to further the goals and objectives
I think right on target.
Advising.
I like that word. You may not be able to have all the information. I kind of talk about it as seeing the gray areas and being able to function in the gray areas. Administrators can't be just black or white. You really have to be
Definitely.
able to many times function where you're not sure what the outcome is going to be, but you've got to take that risk and move forward. And I think what you and Bill and Jennifer have set up as those skills allow us to do that. Of course, if these are the skills we need, the next obvious question is, where do people go to get them? And where do you learn them? Where do you find them? So Jennifer, let's start with you this time.
I really, and it might be because I was thinking about kind of building these skills for a long time for myself, that, you know, I really want people to think about the prior experiences they've had as graduate students, as lead or senior advisors, as associate and assistant directors, as faculty members, whether at 2 or 4 or for-profit, not-for-profit, public, private institutions. We attend all sorts of university workshops. We attend regional and other national conferences on a variety of issues, and we really are building these skills over time. So whether you're hired or you're appointed, I really encourage you to draw on good meetings, bad meetings, your skills that got you to where you are right now. And by thinking of yourself as a learner over time, that also helps set you up for the future. There will be new budgetary models for you to learn. There will be new social media and other kind of technology adaptations that we all have to experience and learn to adapt to and problem solve and manage. So if you see yourself as a learner over time, then these are skills you're going to bring with you as we face a lot of new challenges in the years to come.
Very good, Jennifer. And I like what you said as far as whether you applied for or appointed. I know many people who manage or administer advising programs where it's primarily faculty. I think it's really important to see that many times we're just appointed. You know, my example, I was sitting there grading my little 5-paragraph essays, minding my business, when I was told I was going to administer academic advising. So I had to learn it quickly. So I think what you've said is so important. Bring the skills that someone saw in you to make you very valuable. So excellent there. Bill, what about you?
Well, one area, Charlie, is for advising administrators to practice the area that needs skill development. The best way to develop skills in a specific area is to dedicate focused energy to that area for an extended period of time. For example, if technology is an area of unfamiliarity, then you must incorporate it into your daily life. If assessment is an area in which you are unfamiliar, then you must begin the process of assessment, seeking out those who will yoke together with you to assist you with this process. I believe that by immersing oneself in these areas, an administrator begins to take on the skills required for that area. The languages, the details, and the nuances become a part of you, displayed during key meetings on campus with stakeholders important to your program. And the second way is through involvement in focused learning opportunities to develop these skills. An administrator's involvement in any of the various NACADA institutes brings focused learning in specific areas due to the philosophy and practice that these institutes are indeed working sessions. As well, one can develop specific skills within an institute through the mentorship of a faculty leader during both small group discussions and individual or group consulting sessions.
Bill, excellent, and I thank you for taking the opportunity to talk about the institutes, because we hear over and over again from administrators that for many of them, the Academic Advising Administrators Institute was the first place that they had ever gone to be able to network with people who do exactly what they do, build those relationships with folks that they don't have that same type of person on their campus, and then by returning to the Institute in future years have been able to develop new action plans to move forward. So I hope the audience who's here will think about the institutes as a way to be able to grow and look forward to that. Nancy, what about you?
Well, I'd really like to stress the importance of networking. It's already been mentioned, but I'd like to mention that again. And when I talk about networking, I talk about it both on your campus and outside your campus. I think it can be very, very helpful to share information with your peers, be those other advising administrators at other institutions or other administrators on your own campus. You can learn how others might have handled similar situations or problems that you might be facing. You can learn from the experience of others as well as from your own experience. And I think it can also be very helpful, even at this stage in one's career, to have a mentor that you can talk to, someone that you can use as a sounding board, someone who will listen to you, maybe help you talk through situations you might be encountering where you're not quite sure what to do. Listen to what you feel might be some of the strategies and kind of help you sort through the possibilities.
Nancy,
So
I think you're exactly
again,
right. It doesn't matter
working
how
with others, very, very
experienced one is or mature one is, we always need mentors. And I think one of the things that I've liked so much about continued growth in this field is the fact that many of the mentors I think of right now are people who are 20 and 30 years younger than I am, because they're so much further ahead than I ever was at that age. So I think the more we can meet people, the more we can move forward. So really a good idea. Of course, now that we've looked at those, I think a really key piece here is, what do you see as the key issues that administrators have to deal with today, and what are ways to deal with those? So Jennifer, we're going to begin with you again.
Well, as you can see on the screen, those are probably the top three of a list of about 10, and we certainly heard the same general focus from our advising administrator monograph editors and authors and reviewers, that we're feeling the changes in the higher education budget models. Some offices are having to do more with less. We heard that a lot at the national conference. We also heard examples of offices that are doing more with more. That is, that they, like Bill has said, has been able to kind of bring data-driven decision-making forward. They're able to make the case for advising. We see changes in technology. Offices are able to tie that to advising and persistence. And so some offices have, increased resources, and that means increased responsibility. I don't know if it will be helpful to our partner offices or not, but these are issues actually that advising offices are telling us they're experiencing all over the world. So this focus on persistence and retention and degree attainment. We're hearing from our colleagues in the United Kingdom, Japan, the Middle East, certainly in Australia. So these are worldwide pressures. That's why when we talk to our advising colleagues, these are very much the same issues that they're bringing forward. It's a different country and then maybe a different educational model, but this is the common conversation that we're facing.
Great, Jennifer. I think you're exactly on target. Could you talk just briefly, possibly, about your last item, continual changes in technology? I know we'll keep going back to this, but I think if you can just kind of begin that topic, then we can move on in other arenas toward that as well.
Well, I think it's important to think through how, we're actually seeing them at two different levels. There's massive systemic or systems-oriented kind of developments, whether it's the programs that are sitting on top of the current data we have, and so helping us with retention initiatives, or whether it's new systems altogether, whether they're on the shelf, off-the-shelf products, or comprehensive, relationship management systems. And we're also seeing at the level of social media, new advisors, admins who are getting excited about social media are reaching out to students, reaching out to veterans. It's important for administrators to know that the largest group of underrepresented students who are involved in social media are Latinos. They're using social media at an enormous rate compared to almost any other student population. So, who are we working with, and how can we use these new technologies to not decrease one-on-one relationships, but actually to maximize who we have on our staff and who we're seeing and how we can assist, again, retention, persistence, and degree attainment.
Very good, Jennifer. I think the key that you brought up so clearly is that advising administrators today are facing issues dealing with technology that are short-term but long-term, and that
Absolutely.
Administrators need to have that ability to think strategically about technology over the next 10 to 15 years as well as in the next 10 minutes. and that's a real skill that administrators need to have. So
Yeah, no pressure.
really no pressure at all. Just a reminder to our participants, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to type them into the question and answer box. And at the end or during the session, we'll deal with those questions. And if we don't get a chance to do all the questions, each panelist will respond to your question in writing, and we'll send that out to you at a later date. So, Nancy, let's talk about you. What do you think are the key issues that administrators are facing?
Well, I think one of the key issues we're facing is to continue to communicate and advocate for the role and the value of advising, and in particular to be reaching out to academic faculty who many of us depend on our campuses to play a large role in advising, realizing that they too are being asked to do more with less and are often facing larger classes, increased teaching loads, and so forth, but still being expected to assist us with advising and just communicating to them how important their role is in the process on many of our campuses. I think we need to continue to do research, to collect data that can tie the outcomes of good academic advising to important institutional metrics such as retention rates and graduation rates and the like, metrics that pertain to the mission and goals of our institutions. And then I also feel it's important that we continue to strive for support for our professional advisors and for the advising profession, to continue to provide professional development opportunities for advisors, and to continue to strive for opportunities for career advancement within the advising profession. So I think these are some of the challenges, at least that I see,
which I really
we're
think is
facing
important, they really
on many
tie
campuses.
together, is this administrator's responsibility to look at and sponsor and nurture research in the field from advisors in the field within that, which I think connects so closely to the whole idea of career advancement. A campus looking at trying to build some type of career ladder for academic advisors based upon scholarship, based upon research in the field, based upon presentations, not just based upon I've lived long enough to be in that chair.
Yes.
And so I think that's an administrator's job so clearly, is that nurturing of that. So I'm really excited to see you bring that up as an administrator on a campus, to know that you're doing that yourself at Reno. So thank you. Jennifer, you look like you want to say something.
No, you know, there's so much to cover in just a short period of time, but absolutely succession planning. I mean, everything we're talking about, it's easy to focus on our own personal development to this role, but wow, a really valuable thing we do is recognize these qualities in the staff around us and other professionals on campus.
Very good. Bill, what about you? What do you see are the key issues?
Well, the first area, Charlie, is assessment. Assessment of the advising function is imperative today for advising administrators. One may view it from the perspective that assessment must be implemented effectively to either win big, or from the perspective to avoid losing. In other words, if you work at an institution where assessment is not practiced effectively, you win big for your unit. You become the expert that people seek counsel from because of these skill sets. Your unit wins because you can articulate your needs in a way where data supports your requests. However, if you work at an institution where assessment is practiced effectively, but your unit does not due to your lack of skills in this area, then developing effective assessment tools is a necessity to avoid losing to other stakeholders whom can articulate their needs supported by data. The second key issue is funding. The new reality for many public institutions is that the term state institution is becoming less and less a reality. In terms of percentage of an institution's total budget coming at the state level, it is decreasing at a rapid rate, with institutions dependent upon tuition and fees, private donations, and grants to fill the gap in terms of funding. This issue affects academic advising units today and into the future. As it relates to advising administrators, we must be clear and articulate in identifying our needs. We must support our funding requests with data to access funds from a pool decreasing to the tune of 4 to 10% or more each year for the foreseeable future. And then the third issue is regarding staff morale and support. A byproduct of a world where advising is accountable to assess and validate its function is the possibility, even reality, that staff will perceive these initiatives through the lens of being personally measured. As advisors track student contacts, the concern is that this data will be used in the future if or when staff cuts are necessitated by tight budgets.
Very good, Bill. I think all of these go together, and I think that's really exciting within that. Jennifer herself has just put the question in, how do you build budgeting skills over time? Bill, how do you think that happens with administrators? Because, once again, many of us got into these roles because we were excellent advisors, not because we were excellent budgeters. So how do you see administrators building those budgeting skills?
I think the key piece here is, because other folks will make the decisions on our budgets in many respects, is it really comes down as advising administrators in terms of our ability to create a rationale behind the funding needs that we need within our departments, and to begin to connect those funding needs with the direction and the mission and the vision of the institution. At the University of Akron, we're currently going through a 10-year plan we call Vision 2020, and those who are attuned to this particular document will find those areas within their departments that to yoke together within that document so that funding can come based upon working toward those goals and objectives.
Very good. So the whole idea of being able to articulate budget needs in a clear manner, but also connect it back to data, which connects your assessment, your funding, and your whole staff issue within that. I think. I'm sorry?
I said you have to have the ability to develop a rationale behind these particular funding needs.
Absolutely, absolutely. I really like that the picture on the screen there is our own Casey Self, who was a facilitator at the Advising Institute for many years, and still is, will be on faculty again with us. So if those are the issues today, obviously, what are the issues going to be in the future? So let's begin then with Nancy. What do you see as the major future challenges that advising administrators need to deal with?
I think it's very difficult to predict the future. I would have never envisioned I would be facing what I'm facing on my campus today, even 5 years ago. But I think it's absolutely essential that advising administrators continue, to the best of their ability, to stay on top of and monitor the influence of multiple factors that are impacting higher education and how we will probably do business in the future. We need to follow what's going on politically within our state legislatures as well as at the national level. We see our legislators wanting and demanding greater accountability. At least here in Nevada, they're considering different funding formulas. To keep on top of social forces, changing demographics, monitoring those trends, because those are going to impact the students of the future, who they are, how the public perceives and values our systems of education, in particular higher education, because that can come back to have an influence on our resources. Economic forces, what's happening with respect to our funding sources, the cost of education, budget issues, and legal forces. And one example that comes to mind there are changes that have taken place with respect to FERPA as a result of increased use of technology. We've seen new amendments to that legislation, and we're now having to figure out how to train faculty, advisors, and so forth in terms of compliance. And the changes keep happening faster and faster, and I think, again, that necessitates increasing flexibility on our part. I would just like to mention a couple of listservs that, actually daily newsletters that I use on a regular basis. One is a newsletter put out every day by the Chronicle of Higher Education called Academe Today, And just today there's an article on advising's role in tenure where Jennifer is quoted extensively. There's another article that looks at responses from alumni of liberal arts colleges in terms of how they see the value of their degree. Another useful newsletter that comes out daily is put out by Academic Impressions. It's Higher Ed Impact Daily Pulse, News and Trends in Higher Education. And just last week, what they tend to do is provide little clips, summaries of articles that have typically appeared elsewhere. But just last week, there was an article on why science majors changed their minds, coming out of the New York Times. And when I see these, I oftentimes will just send them out on an advising listserv that I have to faculty across campus. And this one generated a lot of response. So,
excellent ideas.
Using tools like that,
say
just
we
to
don't
keep
get
track
that
of
crystal
what's going
ball
on around the
when we get
country
the job,
and around
so
the
it's hard to
world
foretell
with
that
respect
future.
to higher ed, I think can be
I do
very,
want to
very
just
helpful.
comment again on Jennifer's being quoted in that article for the Chronicle by Beloit. For our participants, it's just exciting to see that NACADA is now being contacted by people like the Chronicle of Higher Ed when those issues come up. Bill, a couple of just quick future challenges you see as we're winding down our time today?
I'm sorry, Charlie, you faded out on me real quick. I'm assuming you're finished with your statement. The first challenge in the future is in the development, I believe, of creative and effective intentional or intrusive advising initiatives. The future is also today in terms of this issue. The nature of the advising process is ever-changing to reflect new and innovative ways of reaching students with information and to teach the curriculum of academic advising. Academic advising, when I began in this profession, was meeting students and responding to telephone calls and replying to emails. This vision of academic advising has changed dramatically and will continue to do so as administrators identify and implement new ways of reaching students. The second is in the increasing use of technology in the academic advising process. This is an issue Jennifer touched base with. In terms of the future, the implementation of technology relates specifically to the development of intrusive advising initiatives. Gone are the days where the end-all use of technology is in the use of Oracle or Banner as a database and Blackboard or D2L for the classroom. Today we must move quickly toward electronic self-service student appointment calendars, electronic student files, and early alert systems as an absolute necessity to academic advising. And the future will require academic advising administrators to utilize additional technologies to yoke with their institutions in its retention and persistence efforts. These technologies will allow for greater ease in communicating with students with specific information and in a timely manner. Examples of future innovations may include electronic check-in systems, where there is a greater ease of identifying data for reports, accurate information on student traffic by time of day, time in the semester, etc. Facebook posts and Twitter feeds for specific information to students, electronic survey tools for assessment and data, text message alerts, and even smartphone apps, wherein a student perhaps can electronically check into an advising center via a smartphone app and enter the queue from anywhere on campus. It could include alerts when a student has reached a certain placement in the queue, etc. The world of innovations via technology to enhance the academic advising process is virtually endless and will undoubtedly increase in the future.
Great, Bill. Jennifer, we're going to move to you. And so if you could kind of wind us up today with what you see as those future challenges.
Well, it all starts and begins with who our students are. So of the list, I think we've addressed the first two bullet points, but really it's all about our students. We have returning students, we have adult learners in the United States. Obviously we have, having experienced the two wars, we have returning veterans coming to campus, very focused. We have a lot of transfer equivalency and other transcript issues in relation to those student populations. We have emerging immigrant populations with the passage of the DREAM Acts in different states. So we see a lot of different members of our student body. And again, this is happening all over the world as countries have different kind of demands on changing demographics. And so understanding who's coming, understanding the mission of your institution, those are key places for advising administrators to begin. Are you in touch with the enrollment management people? Do you understand the trends in population? It all begins and ends with who is coming and what our role is in that institution, and that's where and then after that we make decisions about social media, we make decisions about resource allocation, we make decisions about staffing, we make decisions about hiring. Who are you and what is your role? That's where we begin and end.
Very good, Jennifer. I think you brought us exactly where we need to be as we end today's panel discussion, with the concept that when you look at the three issues on the screen right now that Bill talked about, that Nancy talked about, and you've talked about, these are really the issues that higher education as a whole is hitting, not just academic advising. But what it clearly shows is that academic advising administrators need to step up and take a lead in our campuses dealing with these issues, because we are the people who have the pulse, have our pulse, our finger on the pulse of all of these future ideas. Jennifer, Bill, Nancy, thank you so much for being a part of this today. It's been a great opportunity to have this conversation with you. And thank all of you who joined us in the audience today. And everyone have a great afternoon. Presenters, if you'll hang on for a few moments, and then we'll go from there. So thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.